Moses isn't looking for destiny. He's just working, counting sheep, feeling the heat, thinking about nothing in particular. Then he sees fire in a bush, and it doesn't eat the branches. He steps closer, and the wilderness suddenly feels like it's watching him back, because something is about to call his name. This is Midian, far from Pharaoh's courts, far from the life Moses ran from. He's a shepherd now, tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, priest of Midian. Ordinary labor, ordinary silence, and that's what makes the moment so unsettling. Holiness doesn't arrive with trumpets. It slips into routine and refuses to leave. Moses leads the flock beyond the familiar paths, out toward Horeb, the mountain the text calls the mountain of God. Wind moves through dry grass. The day feels like any other, until that bush catches his eye again. Flame, bright and clean, holding steady like it's anchored to something deeper than wood and air, and Moses can't not look. He turns aside, not charging in, just that cautious human drift toward a mystery. He's close enough now to see what shouldn't be possible: leaves intact, branches unblackened, no collapse into ash. The miracle is restrained, almost quiet. And that quiet is what makes it terrifying. Because if the fire isn't consuming the bush, then what else is it doing? Then it happens. Not a vision, not a feeling, but a voice that speaks his name twice, like it's pinning him in place. Moses, Moses. He answers the way people answer when they don't know what else to do. Simple, exposed, here I am. And with that one sentence, his ordinary day is gone for good. The voice doesn't invite him closer. It draws a boundary. Do not come near. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Moses freezes, then kneels. Leather straps loosen, sandals come off. The dust touches skin, and suddenly the ground feels less like dirt and more like a threshold he can't cross casually. The voice identifies itself with names older than Moses' whole life. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Moses' curiosity collapses into fear. He hides his face because looking feels dangerous. Not because God is cruel, but because holiness is weight, and Moses can feel it pressing down on every excuse he's ever used to survive. And then God speaks about Egypt, like it's not distant at all. I have surely seen the affliction of my people. I have heard their cry. I know their sorrows. Seen, heard, known. The words land with the force of remembered pain. Moses doesn't have to picture the brick dust to feel it again. But God isn't only naming suffering, He's announcing movement. God says He has come down to deliver Israel, to bring them into a good and broad land. It's promise language, wide space after years of confinement. But the promise doesn't float in the air for long. It takes a sharp, personal turn. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people out of Egypt. And Moses realizes the plan has a name on it, his. His first response isn't courage. It's the oldest protest in the human chest. Who am I, that I should go to Pharaoh? It's not a philosophical question. It's a survival question. Moses knows the power of Egypt. He knows his own history. He knows what it costs to be noticed. And now God is asking him to walk straight back into the place he fled. God doesn't answer with compliments. No pep talk, just a promise of presence. I will be with you. And then a sign, strangely future tense, that after all this, Moses will serve God on this very mountain. It's like God is saying, you can't see the end yet, but you'll stand here again, changed. And that's where the tension tightens. Moses tries another angle. If I come to the people of Israel and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say? He's thinking about credibility now, about the moment when desperate people demand something solid. A name is not trivia, it's a lifeline. And Moses knows that if he's going to speak for God, he can't show up with empty hands and vague answers. God gives him something weighty enough to carry generations. I am who I am. Tell them, "I am has sent me to you." And then, "The Lord, the God of your fathers." A memorial name, not just a label. Moses wanted a credential. God gives him a reality, not a God who depends on circumstance, but one who simply is and will be. Then the instructions get practical. Gather the elders, speak the promise, go with them to the king of Egypt, ask for a 3-day journey into the wilderness to sacrifice to the Lord. It's not framed as a rebellion speech, it's worship language. Freedom is pointed somewhere. But even as God outlines the steps, he also warns Moses, Pharaoh won't cooperate just because you ask nicely. God says it plainly, the king of Egypt will not let them go except by a mighty hand. There will be resistance before release, and God promises wonders, acts strong enough to break a grip that has lasted generations. Moses is hearing that this mission won't be one brave conversation, it will be a collision. And the person standing barefoot in the sand is being drafted into it. And then comes a detail Moses probably didn't expect. Israel won't leave empty-handed. God says the people will ask their neighbors for silver, gold, and clothing. Not theft, reversal. A public undoing of humiliation. Even the exit will preach a message. Slavery doesn't get the final word. But Moses can't stay in the big picture for long. Fear drags him back to himself. Moses voices the next excuse like he's bracing for impact. But behold, they will not believe me. They will say, the Lord did not appear to you. He's not imagining Pharaoh now. He's imagining his own people, skeptical and exhausted, because disappointment makes people cautious, and Moses knows what it feels like to speak and be dismissed. So God answers with something Moses can hold. God starts with the object already in Moses' hand. What is that? A staff. The most normal tool in a shepherd's world. God tells him to throw it on the ground. Moses obeys, and the staff becomes a serpent. Instinct takes over. Moses jumps back. The wilderness suddenly feels alive in a new way. And then God tells him to do the last thing he wants to do next. Put out your hand and catch it by the tail. Everything in Moses screams no, but he reaches, fingers closing around moving flesh, and it snaps back into a staff. The sign isn't just power, it's training. God is teaching Moses what obedience feels like when your body is afraid. And if that wasn't enough to convince a crowd, God gives another sign. Closer to home than a snake, God tells Moses to put his hand inside his cloak. He does. When he pulls it out, the skin is diseased, white, shocking, wrong. Moses' breath catches. Then God tells him to put it back. He obeys again, and the hand is restored. In seconds, Moses learns how fragile the body is and how effortless restoration is to the one calling him. But Moses still has one more fear. God adds a third sign, like a final nail. If they still won't listen, take water from the Nile and pour it on dry ground. It will become blood. It's a warning wrapped in mercy. God is providing evidence before conflict escalates. Moses now has answers for disbelief. But his next objection isn't about the people anymore. It's about his own mouth, and he can barely bring himself to say it. Moses says, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent. I am slow of speech and of tongue." He's not arguing theology. He's confessing limitation. He can picture the moment. Elders staring, Pharaoh unmoved, words tangling in his throat. And in that confession, you can hear years of hiding, choosing distance over risk. But God's reply doesn't treat Moses' weakness as a surprise. God answers with a question that turns the whole fear inside out. Who has made man's mouth? The one speaking from the fire claims authorship over speech, hearing, sight, over ability and disability. Then the promise returns, sharper and more personal. I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak. Moses has been asking for competence. God keeps offering presence. And then Moses says what all the other excuses were circling. "Oh my Lord, please send someone else." Not inability, unwillingness. It's a refusal dressed in politeness. The air feels heavier. The fire still doesn't consume the bush, but the moment burns anyway, because Moses has reached the edge where patience meets consequence, and God responds with anger that is real, but restrained. The text says the Lord's anger burned against Moses, but notice what comes next. Not abandonment, provision. Is there not Aaron, your brother? I know that he can speak well. God names help before Moses even asks for it. It's as if God is saying, your fear is not going to cancel my purpose. And with Aaron's name spoken, the mission suddenly feels closer, more real than ever. God explains the partnership. Aaron will meet Moses, and when he sees him, he'll be glad in his heart. Moses will speak to Aaron. Aaron will speak to the people. Aaron will be Moses' mouth, and Moses will be as God to him, carrying the message with authority. It's not a demotion, it's a structure. The call remains on Moses, but the burden will be shared, and that changes what obedience will look like. God promises to help both of them, guidance not only for the mission, but for the sentences themselves. And then the conversation lands on something almost simple. Take this staff in your hand, with which you shall do the signs. After fire and names and fear and anger, we're back to wood in a palm. The calling isn't floating in the sky. It's going to travel with Moses, step by step. And now the question isn't, can he? It's, will he move? Imagine the silence after the last instruction. Sheep bleat in the distance, wind shifts. Moses is still barefoot, still dusty, still the same man who started the morning thinking about pasture and water. But he's also not the same, because he has heard his name spoken by God. He has been told what God sees, what God hears, what God knows, and he's been sent anyway, even with trembling hands. But the hardest part is still ahead, leaving this spot. Because holy ground doesn't stay a moment, it becomes a memory that follows you into ordinary roads. Moses will have to put sandals back on, pick a direction, and walk toward everything he's avoided. The story doesn't end with a triumphant speech. It ends with a staff, a promise of presence, and a reluctant man carrying both. And if you've ever felt called toward something that scares you, this is the part that hits. God doesn't wait for you to feel fearless. He gives you what you need to take the next step and then asks for it. Moses' story reminds us that calling often sounds like interruption, and faith often feels like arguing with God. Until you realize his answer is presence, not perfection. If this episode put words to your own fear and hesitation, hit like and subscribe for more. And if you're choosing obedience even while you're scared, comment, "Here I go," below. I read every single comment.